Do you want 2026 to be the year that you finally unload that heavy ass stress you've been carrying around for months, for years, maybe even for decades? If so, I'm going to give you a simple 3-step plan that's going to help you live a life not completely free of stress, because that's not really possible, but a life of extremely minimized stress. If you look at stress kind of like debt, and you look at the opposite of stress, which is fulfillment and presence and joy, like income, then it's a little bit easier to understand, because unfortunately, you can't live life without any debt on planet Earth. You need some sort of funding mechanism to pay for your existence in what we call civilized societies. Now, of course, maybe you could live out in the forest somewhere, but you'd be on somebody's land. And once they discovered you squatting on their land, they're going to try to get you to cough up some money or some labor or something in exchange for existing on that land. And that's just the way it is. But my point is, if you make enough income, then your debts are not going to hinder you from doing whatever it is that you want to do. However, if your debts regularly exceed your income, then you're going to have a lot of problems in life that wouldn't be there otherwise. So all you have to do in life is figure out how to make more money than you're spending, and life gets exponentially more liberating. And the same thing applies when it comes to stress. If you're carrying a massive stress debt, then you're minimizing the amount of fulfillment and the amount of presence and the amount of joy that you could otherwise be experiencing in your life. And this is why we want to prioritize getting out of our stress debt in 2026. It's not cool to be stressed anymore. It's not sexy. It doesn't make you more attractive, and it certainly doesn't make you healthier or more successful. If anything, stress works against you in all of those areas. It makes you anxious. It makes it hard for you to get it up at night when it's sexy time. It makes you more prone to getting sick, and you stay sick for longer, and it repels potential collaborators and business partners and helpers of any kind who may otherwise want to do a deal with you or get into a relationship with you. Not to mention, stress is incredibly expensive. It's not the stress itself that's pricey. It's paying for all of the things that you have to do in order to manage the stress that gets really expensive. The therapy, the pharmaceuticals, the endless conversations trying to clarify and process what you really meant to say or do when you had that stress reaction, your precious time, the cost it takes to repair relationships, plus the hit to your reputation and all of the goodwill you have to do to make up for all of those stress-based decisions that you made. When you add it all up, the juice of living a stressful life is just not worth the squeeze, especially when there's so many things that you can do in 2026 to minimize the stress. By the way, my name is Watkins, and I created this channel for spiritual people like you and I who struggle with balancing spirituality and living modern life, because society makes it seem like we have to choose one or the other, either focus on that airy-fairy spiritual stuff or focus on making money and being successful. Well, I say you can do both. And this channel exists to show you how to do both, how to incorporate spiritual practices and inner work into a successful life. Okay, so let's get into it. How to live a stress-less life in 2026 in 3 steps. Number 1, you want to commit to not taking anything personal in 2026 and beyond. The more you personalize the words and the behaviors of others, the more prone you're going to be to having a stress response to those words and behaviors. And I admit this is a very, very difficult thing to do, especially when someone's actions and words may feel so personal, and maybe it was even intended to be taken personally. But this is a case of drinking the poison and expecting the other person to die. When you take their behavior personally, you're the one drinking the poison, literally, because the stress chemicals that you experience from personalizing somebody else's behavior or words are literally toxic to your nervous system. The body works the math and figures, hey, it's a worthwhile trade-off, because those toxic chemicals help the nervous system shift from rest mode into fight-flight mode very quickly, which gives you the ability to run faster and fight harder. But the thing that you're reacting to doesn't require running and fighting, because it's probably a text message. Or maybe it's a social media comment. What it's usually not is a warring tribe member trying to attack your village, or a famine, or a bomb, or something that's genuinely life-threatening. And the more you allow these little things to get to you, the more prone you're going to be to react to future offenses as well, which will keep the stress response operating in a never-ending loop. This will rob you of your fulfillment, your presence, and your joy in 2026. Obviously, you don't want that to happen. You want 2026 to be the year that you break that cycle. But it starts with making a commitment to yourself not to take anything personal. Admittedly, this is easier said than done, but just by taking this one step, you're going to put yourself in a position to eliminate 50% of the stress right off the bat. And that brings us to number 2. Number 2 is I want you to optimize your sleep experiences, because a lack of rest is like gasoline for stress. Now, there are all kinds of studies about the importance of sleep, so I'm not going to bore you with those statistics. But what we do know is that most of our worst decisions that led to a stress response probably occurred when we were not the most well rested. Imagine coming out of a 2-hour full body massage somewhere on the beach in Hawaii, and then you check your phone and you get the news that you lost some money in the stock market, right? Probably it's going to shift your energy a little bit, but not nearly as much as if you got that same news after staying up all night long working on some project. Then you check your phone in the morning and you get the bad news about your investment. Then let's suppose you get another call saying that the project you just spent all night working on has been canceled. Now imagine the difference in reactions. Post massage, you get the news about the loss, you get a little bit upset, but something deep down reminds you that, hey, everything is going to work out for the best. This is all happening for your highest purpose and all that spiritual stuff, right? However, if you get that same news after a sleepless night, you're going to be devastated because you're lacking in rest. And that lack of rest prohibits you from tapping into that inner voice that says, hey, everything's going to work out for the best. It's all happening for your highest good. That voice doesn't exist anymore. And so instead, when you get the news about the project being canceled, that's where you end up cursing the person out who told you the bad news, or doing something else that's very reactive that you're going to have to apologize for later. So sleep can make a huge difference in how we react to change. In fact, I would argue that it's exponentially easier not to take things personal if you're more well rested. And the reverse is true. It's a lot easier to personalize little things, little changes, if you're lacking in rest. So that's the importance of sleep. And again, people much smarter than me have written volumes and volumes of books on how to optimize sleep. And so I want you to approach the quality of your sleep like you're being paid for it. In other words, do the research, experiment with different approaches, and just see what works for you, right? Get whatever you need to have a cooler room if that helps, or blackout curtains, or the right type of nighttime lighting, or the mattress that you need, or the duvet that helps you sleep better, so you don't have any controllable reasons not to be sleeping well at night. Do you have a book you've been trying to finish, or weight you've been trying to lose, or a podcast you've been wanting to start, but you're all up in your head about it, or you keep stopping and starting, or you're drowning in your important sounding excuses? If so, I've got something that could help you bring your project to completion finally. It's called the Finish Line Program, and it's uniquely designed to give you all the elements for getting your dream across the finish line within 12 weeks, so you can become the type of person who actually finishes what you started. You'll get an in-depth planning session with me where we'll outline all of your weekly and daily milestones. Then I'll support you along the way, and most importantly, I'll be holding you accountable. The reason we keep stopping and starting is because we've been relying too heavily on self-accountability, which is actually the worst kind of accountability, because if self-accountability worked, you would have done it by now. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of your excuses, apply to join the Finish Line Coaching Program now, and let's bring your project to completion within 12 weeks, no excuses. Space is limited. Go to thefinishlinecoaching.com to apply, or use this QR code. And finally, number 3 is I want you to become a daily meditator in 2026. Now, obviously, I'm a big advocate for meditation. And what I find is that a lot of people are occasional meditators, but very, very few people are actually daily meditators. And it's important to become a daily meditator. And not only that, but to become an enthusiastic daily meditator. Because if you're meditating in an unenjoyable way and you commit to doing it for a year, at the end of the year, you're probably going to stop, if not sooner, right? For instance, back in 2024, I committed to taking a cold shower every day for a year. And while I was proud of myself for following through and I did it every single day, I could not wait for that year to come to an end so I could start taking warm showers again. And we don't want our meditation practice to end up like that. Now, many of you may be thinking, Light, what are you talking about? Meditation feels unbearable to me. It feels like a cold shower. And look, I hear you. I know exactly what that feels like because that was my experience for the first few years of my meditation practice. And as I've mentioned before, everything changed when I studied with my teacher in LA in the early 2000s. Literally, meditation went from feeling like that cold shower that's unbearable for even 30 seconds, and I couldn't wait for the time to end, to feeling like one of those nice, long, hot showers where I didn't want the time to end. And that's when I went on my mission to help other people have that experience. Now, in order to turn meditation from being a cold shower to a hot shower experience, there are three things you want to do. Number one, you want to see your mind as your ally in the meditation as opposed to your enemy. In other words, don't fight your thoughts in meditation. See your thoughts as a part of the experience. Number two, you want to sit comfortably as though you are watching television. In other words, you don't need to cross your legs. You don't need to sit up straight. I've done plenty of videos on this before on the proper meditation experience for enjoying the practice. So definitely go back and watch those. But long story short, you want to sit in a relaxed way. And then number three, you only need to meditate for 10 or 15 minutes once a day, ideally at the start of your day, whenever that is. Even if that means just sliding up to the headboard of your bed and spending those first 10 or 15 minutes in your eyes closed meditation, that is a perfect time to meditate. And the reason why this is so effective is because it helps you with those other two stress managing activities. If you meditate first thing in the morning, you're going to be a lot less likely to take whatever happens during the day personally, and meditating on a regular basis will help to enhance the quality of your nighttime sleep. And so in that way, all three activities kind of tie together, with daily meditation being what I call the key domino. And if you prioritize that one, then the other two are going to be a lot easier to do. But if you skip the daily meditation part, then it's going to be a lot harder not to take things personally and to get that highest quality of rest at night. And of course, meditation is notorious for its stress releasing benefits. And the way you know your practice is working is not because your mind goes quiet. It's because you find yourself becoming more adaptable during the day, meaning you're not taking things personally as much and you're sleeping much better at night. But you'll only realize those benefits if it's a daily practice as opposed to an occasional practice. I cannot stress this enough, pun intended, that you have to be consistent in your practice in order to see the positive effects of the practice. And so there you have it. You're going to agree not to take anything personally in 2026. You're going to sleep like you're getting paid for it because in a way you kind of are. And number three, you're going to commit to meditating for 10 or 15 minutes each day like clockwork. You do those three things on a consistent enough basis, and 2026 will be the year that you finally liberate yourself from the grips of stress. And as a result, you might even find yourself accessing a lot more of your potential and definitely feeling more fulfilled inside and experiencing more moments of presence and more moments of joy. And by the way, you can obviously postpone all of this for 2027 or beyond because you're so busy and you don't have time. But no matter when you start, you're still going to have to do the reps in meditation. You're still going to have to put in the time with sleep, and you're still going to have to commit to not taking things personal. So you may as well make 2026 the year you truly, truly commit. And if you want comprehensive meditation training, you can always check out my book, Bliss More: How to Succeed in Meditation Without Really Trying. And I also host occasional in-person meditation workshops in Mexico City. I also offer mentoring to those of you who have a daily inner work practice, but maybe you're not so sure if you're doing things properly. You can see all of my offerings at this QR code. And if you want to learn more about meditation, you can check out this video about how I meditated 10,000 times. And here's what I learned. And here's another video on the 7 harsh realities of committing to your inner work. And otherwise, I really appreciate you being a part of this spiritual perspective community. Please let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below, and make sure to like and share this video with others who want to have a stress-free 2026. And I will see you in the next episode.